there, aquatic adventurers. Welcome back to Musicland Stories, the origin point for all music and adventure stories in the known universe, and some of the unknown ones. And we're here at the Musicland Concert Hall. I'm your trusted narrator, the Captain, and I've been sailing the seas with a gallant crew of young musicians, searching for the last Leviathan. Even if you've never heard of it, you've definitely heard its fabled song echoing all across the ocean. That's why we're after it, to capture its legendary song on tape, to make a record before it's gone for good. No pressure there. We've been out to sea for quite some time now, which means the kids have had plenty of time to practice their instrumentation. Sure, we faced a few complications. Broken B strings, beat up brass bands, even a blown up bass at one point. But they've all found ways to make it work. Seriously, just listen to that jam. I mean, did you hear that drum fill? That was Margie. She's the oldest. And she's been working hard to get that rack tom rim shot trill just right. And, ooh, you hear that fire? She dropped it right into the pocket with her twin brother Mingus on the washtub bass. And that not quite familiar fiddling there? That was Kaylee, who recently replaced her broken violin strings with dried out strands of seaweed. She could still make them sing though. Ooh. The toot 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 on the top line came from Omar, who traded in his trumpet for a conch shell. It's a surprisingly similar instrument, though the conch tends to carry more ghostly melodies, if you know how to listen right. Finally, there's Ezra, filling out the sound with his accordion chords. And the occasional, oh, there it is! The occasional harmonica riff. He's all about those aerophones. Free reeds, good vibes, and all that jazz. Or all that blues, I guess would be more accurate. Then there was me, all alone up in the cockpit steering the ship along to their soundtrack. And that was fine by me. They were all working so well in sync. I didn't want to worry them over the fact that we were running low on fuel. I would have to figure out something soon, or we'd stall before we reached the last Leviathan. Again, no pressure, right? But keeping secrets from kids is harder than you think. Especially after that other submarine shot past us. Did you hear it? We hadn't seen many other ships on our journey, and this one was cruising quite up-tempo. I tried to steer us into its wake, to coast along the surf it left behind. But it was moving at such a different frequency. The waveform sort of killed the moment, in a way that canceled out their jam session, shattering the spell of syncopation. And even if that other sub hadn't stopped the song, they would have lost the beat as soon as the first hammerhead shark crashed into the side of our ship, followed by a second, then a third, and whoa! Margie tried to keep the kick drum going, but it's hard to hold the tempo down when a flock of hammerheads keep, well, hammering their heads in a way that hammers into your own head. So Margie lost the beat, which totally gutted Mingus's groove and killed Kaylee's lengthy legato lilt, which then, in turn, caused Omar to totally blow it on the conch. Ezra was the only one who didn't fumble. He found another rhythm as he walked to the window, whooshing his bellows in warbling waves, until they settled into the vibes left behind by the pelting percussion of the huffing hammerheads. I think they're scared, Ezra said, as he looked out into the dark ocean depths. One of the others, Mingus maybe, tried to force a laugh. The sharks were scared? What about the humans? Or the captain? We were scared too. A school of sharks will do that to you. But Ezra was onto something. The sharks fell in sync with each new stroke of Ezra's accordion reeds. Then, just as their strange assault suddenly started slowing down, Ezra made his move. He darted for the airlock, slipped into his scuba suit, and splashed into the sea. And of course, the accordion was still strapped to his chest. That was Ezra's mantra, after all. Good vibes all around, even for the sharks. The others all screamed after him, which was when I caught on to the chaos in the common room. There wasn't much that I could do at that point. Ezra was already swimming with the fishes. No, I meant literally. He was swimming with the sharks, which are fishes, squeezing his accordion in subaquatic songs that seemed to make them move in mysterious patterns. Almost like they were dancing? Not that hammerhead sharks are typically known for their graceful moves. It certainly looked like they were dancing, though. We couldn't tell it from inside the ship, but Ezra had locked his playing into the same vibrations left behind in the wake of that other submarine. You remember, the one I'd been trying to steer our ship behind? It seemed that the nuclear engine that powered the ship had produced a persistent pulse. Then, on top of those tempos, there was another sound as well. A steady ping, ping, ping that pierced Ezra's ears. Was that sonar? Ezra could hardly imagine how the hammerheads felt hearing these harsh sounds, each awful on its own, now layered together in some asynchronous anarchy. The kind of cacophony that was so cruel and clashing that it almost felt orchestrated. Like there was some sort of captain or conductor controlling the chaos. The tinny ping, ping of the other ship's sonar was somehow still out there, bouncing off of Ezra's makeshift sonic shield like hell against a window. Now he understood what the sharks were so mad about. That sound would drive him wild too. He understood how sonar worked. You shoot a little sound out, use the echoes to illustrate the shape of something you can't see. A picture made of sound instead of light. But that sound, whatever the other submarine was doing, it was a lot. It was loud, intrusive, overwhelming. More than just a ping to paint a sonic picture. Instead, it sounded like a declaration. A sound that shouted, "Hey, we're here, now get out of the way." By now, the hammerheads had formed a circle around Ezra. Not a particularly threatening one. Not like they were going to eat him or anything, but more like they were going to follow him. Like they trusted him. He tried to ask them about the sonar sound. Was it really quite as loud as it felt? Was that the problem? Unfortunately, Ezra did not speak shark. Good vibes worked well enough as a universal language, but they weren't always great for translating details, particularly from carnivorous fish. This was true regardless of whether or not they had eyes on the sides of their T-shaped heads. But there was something else in those fish eyes that helped Ezra understand their meaning. The largest shark in the school shot him a pleading sort of look. The kind that transcends species and sounds, followed by a quick glance in the other direction. The message was clear. We need to escape. Cover us. Ezra nodded. Then he drew his arms back in the widest arc that he could reach, stretching the accordion bellows between them. He twisted his arms in random directions, distorting the sound, as he hammered his pinky hard against the highest button note his instrument could muster, matching the ping, ping from the other ship's sonar. Once Ezra completely compressed the accordion air out into waves, He pulled the bellows back out again. This time, he flattened the high note, creating a dissonant tone that clashed the sonar, just enough to set the sound back. He turned back to his shark friends, but they had already made their move. They swam away as quickly as they could, while Ezra's good vibes held the awful sounds back. The bigger shark brought up the rear, making sure the rest of the school stayed together. Then it glanced back at him, with its mouth stretched wide, showing off 2 shiny rows of sharpened shark teeth. But there was nothing threatening about it. It was more like a smile. And just before the sharks drifted off into the darkness, Ezra could have sworn he saw that ferocious fish salute his fin in a show of camaraderie. Once he was sure the sharks had escaped, Ezra swam back to the ship. He was so excited to tell the crew about his new fish friends. But as he pulled off his goggles and face mask in the airlock, he was only greeted by long, dour looks. I was waiting there for him, of course, with Margie and the others standing behind me. I had already done my best to explain the situation to them. Now it was time to break the news to Ezra, and he could tell the vibes were off. "They were cool sharks, man," he said. "They were just kind of freaked by the sonar and the other stuff." I understood, I said. I knew it wasn't his fault. Underwater noise pollution was a serious problem, frightening fish of all shapes and sizes. For all we knew, that's what had been scaring off the last Leviathan. But we'd been low on fuel, and we were saving energy by coasting behind the raucous submarine, before Ezra's boisterous bellowing knocked us off the course. That sonic blast may have helped the sharks, but it also pushed us backwards. So far back, in fact, that it made it so we might not be able to reach the last Leviathan after all. I'd been hoping to use its song to make one last portal jump to bring us home. But now, we'd have to turn around before we reached our destination. That's when Margie perked up. Always the leader she was. "But Ezra did the right thing," she said. "He figured out how to make his own music, and he used it to help another living thing. A whole family of them. Isn't that why we're here?" Margie looked at the others, who nodded in agreement. All 4 of them stepped out from behind me without a word and went to stand by Ezra's side. It seemed those musical jam sessions had formed an even stronger bond than I had realized. And that made me a very proud captain. They'd been learning more than just how to play their instruments, or fix them when they got destroyed in subaquatic adventures. They'd also learned to work in harmony with each other and the world around them. And that was worth more than an archival recording of any fabled fish song. It was so special, in fact, that it might help us to salvage our mission after all. But that's a story for another time. For now, this is your captain. Out. Musicland Stories is a collaboration between Starglow Media and Double Elvis. Executive producers from Double Elvis are Jake Brennan and Brady Sattler. Executive producers from Starglow Media are Jed Baker and Agarinesh A. Palmer. This episode of Musicland Stories was written by Tom Dunn. Alessandro Santoro is our showrunner. Narration by me, Nikki Lynette. Original score by Scott Janovitz. Story editing by Zeph Lundy. And episode mix by Colin Fleming. Grown-ups, you can find more ad-free audio fun for the whole family by subscribing to Starglow Plus on Apple or wherever you listen to podcasts.